The breaking dawn. Captain Ilara Voss stood at the observation deck of Bastion Station, the last significant human military outpost in known space. Her piercing gray eyes, set in a face prematurely lined with the stress of command, stared out at the vast emptiness where the 17th Defense Fleet had once patrolled. Now only scattered debris fields remained, silent monuments to humanity's desperate defense. 3 years had passed since the Amaranthian Collective had emerged from the uncharted regions beyond the Cygnus Arm. Their crystalline vessels, powered by technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics, had torn through humanity's outer colonies with methodical precision. World after world fell, until only Earth and a handful of inner system outposts remained. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Javier Rodriguez called from behind her. "The Council is assembled. They're waiting for your report." Voss straightened her worn uniform jacket, the blue and gold insignia of Earth Fleet Command dulled by years of use. "Thank you, XO. I'll be right there." She took one last look at the starfield. Somewhere out there, the Collective's Armada was approaching. Intelligence estimated less than 72 hours until they reached Bastion. The walk to the command center took her through crowded corridors. Bastion, designed to support a garrison of 5,000, now housed over 20,000 refugees and military personnel. The air recyclers groaned under the strain, casting a perpetual haze through the poorly lit passageways. In the command center, 12 faces turned toward her as she entered. The Military Defense Council, what remained of Earth's unified command after the fall of the home planet. Captain Voss, Admiral Helena Chen nodded gravely. At 67, she was the oldest serving officer in what remained of the fleet. "Please, your assessment." Voss activated the holographic display at the center of the conference table. A three-dimensional map of local space materialized, dotted with crimson markers representing collective vessels. "Long-range sensors have confirmed our worst fears," Voss began, her voice steady despite the grim news she delivered. "The Collective's main battle group has altered course and will reach Bastion in approximately 68 hours. We're looking at 25 capital ships, at least 40 cruiser-class vessels, and an unknown number of support craft." Dr. Marcus Way, the civilian representative from the Science Directorate, leaned forward. "And our defensive capabilities. 7 operational warships, 3 of which are heavily damaged from the Procyon engagement," Voss replied. "Bastion's defensive grid is at 83% capability, but against this many ships—" She left the sentence unfinished. Everyone understood the implications. "Then we evacuate," said Colonel Karina Dalo, head of ground forces. "We have enough transport capacity to move most of the civilian population to the mining outposts in the asteroid belt." Admiral Chen shook her head. "The mining outposts have minimal life support and no defensive capabilities. We'd only be delaying the inevitable." "What about the Umbra Initiative?" The question came from Commander Nasser Khan, head of special projects. The room fell silent. Voss exchanged a glance with Admiral Chen. The Umbra Initiative was classified beyond top secret, a desperate contingency known only to a handful of senior officers. "That's not an option," Chen said firmly. Khan persisted. "Admiral, with respect, if not now, when? We're facing extinction." "What exactly is the Umbra Initiative?" asked Dr. Way, looking between the officers. After a long moment, Admiral Chen nodded to Voss. "Captain, you have clearance to brief the Council." Voss took a deep breath. When the Collective first appeared, Fleet Admiral Tenzin made a decision. He diverted 20% of our shipbuilding capacity and a significant portion of our research and development teams to a hidden location beyond the edge of charted space. Their mission was to develop and construct a reserve fleet incorporating any technological advantages we could gain from studying collective vessels. Stunned silence followed her words. "That's impossible," Colonel Diallo said finally. "The resources required. We would have noticed." "It was disguised as losses to collective attacks," Voss explained. "Ships, personnel, and resources reported destroyed were actually redirected to the Umbra facility. And this fleet, Dr. Wei asked carefully, it exists. The last encrypted quantum transmission we received indicated that construction was completed 3 months ago, Voss confirmed. 200 vessels, primarily carrier class, each with advanced shielding and weapons systems reverse-engineered from collective technology. 200 ships. Colonel Diallo whispered, disbelief evident in her voice. Where are they then? Why haven't they engaged the enemy? Because the moment they reveal themselves, the collective will commit everything to destroying them, Admiral Chen explained. It has to be a decisive strike, or nothing at all. The implications settled over the room like a heavy blanket. A hidden fleet that might turn the tide of the war, but only if deployed at exactly the right moment. We've received a communication from the collective, Voss continued, changing the display to show a recorded message. Their overseer, Xilara, is offering terms. The hologram shifted to show a tall, willowy figure. Overseer Xilara appeared almost human, save for her iridescent skin that seemed to pulse with internal light and eyes like liquid silver. When she spoke, her voice carried an unnatural harmonic quality. People of Earth, the message began. Your resistance, while admirable, has proven futile. The Amaranthine Collective offers you one final opportunity for survival. Surrender Bastion Station and all remaining military assets. In return, your species will be preserved as a protectorate race within the collective. Resist, and you will follow Earth into oblivion. You have 24 hours to respond. The message ended, leaving only the rotating collective emblem hovering above the table. A protectorate race, Dr. Wei said bitterly. Like the Centauri, reduced to slave labor in their mining operations, or the Arcturians, whose children are taken to serve as attendants to collective nobility, added Colonel Diallo. Admiral Chen looked around the table. I think we all know surrender isn't an option. The question is, do we make our last stand here, or do we attempt to contact the Umbra fleet? If we contact them, we risk exposing their position, Commander Khan pointed out. If the collective intercepts our transmission, we don't need to transmit coordinates, Voss interjected. Just a simple coded message. The Umbra commanders know the plan. They need authorization to execute it. The council fell into debate, voices rising and falling as options were considered and discarded. Finally, Admiral Chen raised a hand for silence. We put it to a vote, she said. Do we contact the Umbra fleet and use Bastion as bait to draw in the collective forces? One by one, the council members voted. The decision was unanimous. Captain Voss, Admiral Chen said formally, as the officer who maintained the Umbra communication protocols, you will send the activation signal. This council is placing humanity's last hope in your hands. Voss felt the weight of that responsibility settle onto her shoulders. I'll need to use the quantum array in the central hub. It's the only transmitter powerful enough to reach them. Do it, Chen ordered. The rest of us will prepare Bastion's defenses. We need to make this look convincing. As the council dispersed, Admiral Chen held Voss back. Ilara, she said quietly, using Voss's first name for the first time in years. If this doesn't work, then we die as we would have anyway, Voss finished for her. But if it works, humanity has a future. The Admiral nodded once, then turned away to begin preparations. Voss made her way to the central communications hub, keying in her authorization codes at 3 separate checkpoints. Inside the secure facility, she dismissed the on-duty technicians. Captain's override, she explained. Classified transmission. When she was alone, Voss approached the quantum array. The device, salvaged from a research outpost before the collective destroyed it, represented the pinnacle of human communication technology. It could transmit an untraceable, uninterceptable signal, provided the receiver had the matching quantum-entangled particles. Voss entered a complex series of commands, then spoke clearly. Phoenix Rising. Authorization Voss Alpha 709. Execute Umbra Protocol. Confirm receipt. For several agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Then the display flickered, showing a simple text response. Message received. Umbra fleet mobilizing. Hold position for 72 hours. Vanguard out. Voss felt a shudder pass through her body. Relief, tension, and desperate hope all mixed together. It was done. Now they just had to survive long enough for the Umbra fleet to arrive. The Collected's response to their refusal came swiftly. Rather than waiting the full 24 hours, Overseer Xylara launched her attack just 6 hours after Bastion's defiant reply. The first wave consisted of lighter vessels, probing Bastion's defenses while staying out of range of the station's main batteries. From the bridge of the EFS Dauntless, Bastion's last operational heavy cruiser, Voss coordinated the defense. Her 7 ships moved in intricate patterns, presenting the appearance of a desperate but disciplined resistance. Enemy cruisers advancing in Sector 4, reported Lieutenant Quan from Tactical. They're launching fighter squadrons. Deploy our remaining fighters, Voss ordered. Defensive pattern echo. Let's make them work for every inch. For 12 grueling hours, the battle continued. Human defenders fought with desperate courage, claiming a surprising number of collective vessels. But the outcome was never in doubt. One by one, Earth's remaining ships were disabled or destroyed, until only the Dauntless remained. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12, Rodriguez reported, voice calm despite the chaos around them. Weapons at 40%. Shields failing. Voss gripped the arms of her command chair as another impact rocked the ship. Status of Bastion. Station shields at 23% and falling, Quan replied. They've begun evacuating essential personnel to the emergency bunkers. Time until the Umbra deadline. 54 hours, Captain. Voss closed her eyes briefly. They weren't going to make it. The Collective was pressing too hard, too fast. Captain, Lieutenant Quan called out suddenly. I'm detecting a transmission from the Collective flagship. It's Overseer Xylara. On screen, Voss ordered. The main view screen flickered, then resolved into the serene face of Overseer Xylara. Up close, the alienness of her features was more pronounced. The subtle shifting of colors beneath her skin, the too-perfect symmetry of her face. Captain Voss, Xylara's melodic voice filled the bridge. Your resistance is impressive, if futile. I offer you one final opportunity to surrender. Your ship is crippled, your station defenseless. There is no logic in further sacrifice. Voss straightened in her chair. We've seen what surrender means to the Collective, Overseer. We choose to die free. A flicker of something, annoyance, respect, crossed Xylara's features. Such determination. It is almost admirable. Tell me, Captain, what do you hope to achieve? Your species is finished. Earth is a barren rock. Your colonies are under our control. You have no reinforcements, no hidden assets. Voss allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps we simply refuse to accept extinction, Overseer. Extinction is not a choice, Captain. It is the inevitable result of evolutionary competition. The Amaranthine Collective has existed for 50,000 of your years. We have incorporated or eliminated 17 species. Yours will be the 18th. We'll see about that, Voss replied. The Overseer studied her for a moment, then made a dismissive gesture. Your bravado changes nothing. In 1 hour, Bastion Station will fall. In 3 days, the last human outposts will be cleansed. Prepare yourself for the end, Captain Voss. The transmission cut off, returning the view screen to the tactical display, showing the overwhelming collective forces surrounding them. She's right about one thing, Rodriguez said quietly. We can't hold out for 54 more hours. We don't have to, Voss replied, tapping commands into her console. We just need to buy enough time. She opened a channel to Bastion. Admiral Chen, we need to fall back to the station. The Dauntless can't take much more punishment. Understood, Captain. Chen's voice came back, distorted by static. We'll cover your approach, but be advised, station shields are failing. We may have to abandon it soon. As the Dauntless limped toward Bastion, Voss studied the enemy formation. The collective vessels had arranged themselves in a spherical pattern, completely surrounding the station. It was exactly the configuration the Umbra plan required, but they needed almost 3 more days. XO, get me a secure line to the Auxiliary Command Center on Bastion, Voss ordered. When Admiral Chen's face appeared on her private screen, Voss spoke quickly. Admiral, we need to accelerate the timetable. The collective is pressing too hard. Can you contact the Umbra fleet? Not without risking interception, Voss replied. But there's another option. The quantum resonance chamber. Chen's expression darkened. That's untested technology, Captain. It's based on collective principles, Voss argued. Their ships use quantum resonance for fleet-wide coordination. If we amplify that signal, you're talking about creating a system-wide quantum disruption, Chen realized. It could disable their ships. And ours, Voss finished. But it would buy us time. Maybe enough for the Umbra fleet to arrive early. Chen was silent for a long moment. Do it, she finally said. I'll evacuate as many people as possible to the shielded sections. As the Dauntless docked with Bastion, Voss led a team to the station's research section. Dr. Wei was waiting for them, already preparing the experimental quantum resonance chamber. This was designed to study collective communication technology, he explained as they worked. But if we overload it, how long will the disruption last? Voss asked. Minutes, perhaps an hour if we're lucky, Dr. Wei replied. Every system using quantum principles will be affected. That includes life support, Rodriguez pointed out. We have backup systems, Voss replied. The collective doesn't. They rely entirely on quantum technology. As they completed the final preparations, the station shuddered under renewed bombardment. The collective was beginning its final assault. Ready, Captain, Dr. Wei announced. Voss opened a station-wide channel. All personnel, this is Captain Voss. Prepare for temporary systems failure. Emergency protocols are now in effect. She looked at the activation control, then at the faces of her team. Here's to buying time, she said, and pressed the switch. A wave of energy pulsed outward from Bastion Station. Throughout the system, quantum fields collapsed, disrupting the delicate balance of collective technology. Their ships drifted, weapons and shields disabled. In the darkness of Bastion's command center, illuminated only by emergency lighting, Voss watched as the minutes ticked by, each one bringing them closer to either salvation or extinction. How long has it been? She asked Rodriguez. 43 minutes, he replied. Auxiliary systems are holding. No sign of recovery from the collective vessels. Contact from the observation post in the outer system reported a communications officer, voice tight with excitement. Multiple quantum signatures detected, massive energy readings. Voss felt her heart rate quicken. Can they identify the signatures? Before the officer could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. Hundreds of jump points formed around the system's edge, disgorging ship after ship. Unlike the crystalline elegance of collective vessels, these were angular and dark, absorbing rather than reflecting light. It's them, Voss whispered. The Umbra fleet. The quantum disruption faded as the human fleet advanced, their weapons systems charging. On the main view screen, a transmission appeared. Admiral Sophia Reyes, commander of the Umbra Initiative. Captain Voss. Admiral Chen. Reyes greeted them, her weathered face breaking into a fierce smile. Looks like we arrived just in time. The collective fleet is still recovering from whatever you did to them. Admiral Reyes, Chen acknowledged. Your timing is impeccable. We detected your quantum pulse halfway across the sector, Reyes explained. Figured you could use some immediate assistance. Her expression hardened. Now shall we show the Amaranthine Collective what happens when they underestimate humanity? As Bastion's systems came back online, Voss watched the tactical display update. 200 human warships had emerged from stealth, surrounding the still recovering collective fleet. For the first time in 3 years, humanity had the advantage. "All ships, this is Captain Voss," she broadcast. "Target the collective flagship. Let's introduce Overseer Xylara to human determination." The rising storm. Overseer Xylara watched in disbelief as her command console struggled to process the data flooding in. Her flagship, the Radiant Ascendancy, was regaining functionality after the unexpected quantum disruption, but the tactical situation had transformed in those chaotic minutes. Where there had been only a desperate handful of human vessels, now hundreds of warships surrounded her fleet. "Impossible," she whispered, her iridescent skin pulsing with deep crimson hues of alarm. "We accounted for all their shipyards, all their resources." Overseer, her second-in-command, Subcommander Vex, approached cautiously. "Sensors are confirming 217 vessels of unknown configuration. They appear to be human in origin, but their energy signatures don't match any known human technology." Xylara's silvery eyes narrowed as she studied the sensor readings. The human vessels were dark, angular constructs that seemed to drink in light rather than reflect it. Their hulls bore minimal markings, only a simple emblem, a stylized phoenix rising from flames. How did they conceal such a fleet? Xylara demanded. "Our intelligence network penetrated every aspect of their governance, their military." "Unknown, Overseer," Vex replied. "But they're moving into attack formation." On the Dauntless, now reconnected to Bastion Station's power grid, Captain Voss watched as the Umbra fleet executed a perfect encirclement maneuver. Admiral Rice had transferred tactical control to the station, allowing Voss to coordinate the combined forces. "All ships, maintain position," Voss ordered. "Target weapon systems and engines. We want their fleet disabled, not destroyed." Admiral Chen raised an eyebrow. "A merciful approach, Captain." "Strategic," Voss corrected. "We'll need to interrogate their officers, study their technology, and the collective values efficiency above all. If we demonstrate that resistance costs more than cooperation, they may reconsider their expansion plans." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Logical, but don't underestimate their fanaticism. The collective has never encountered meaningful resistance before. Then this will be an educational experience for them," Voss replied. "All ships, commence firing." The Umbra fleet's first salvo struck with devastating precision. Unlike conventional human weapons, which relied on kinetic projectiles or nuclear-tipped missiles, these ships fired concentrated beams of energy that phased through the collective's shields as if they weren't there. "They've adapted collective phase technology," Dr. Wei observed, watching from the command center. "Ingenious. Their weapons operate on a quantum frequency that renders standard shields transparent." On the tactical display, collective vessels began to drift, their engines and weapons disabled by the precision strikes. Some attempted to return fire, but their targeting systems seemed confused by the Umbra ship's unusual energy signatures. "The collective flagship is powering up its jump drive," Lieutenant Quan reported. "They're trying to escape." "Not happening," Voss responded. "Umbra Squadrons 7 through 12 cut off their retreat. Dauntless, prepare to move in." Despite its battle damage, the Dauntless detached from Bastion's docking bay and accelerated toward the Radiant Ascendancy. 2 Umbra heavy cruisers fell into formation alongside it, providing cover as they approached the massive collective flagship. "Open a channel to the collective flagship," Voss ordered. After a moment, Overseer Xylara's face appeared on the view screen. Gone was the serene confidence she had displayed earlier. Now her skin flickered with rapid color changes, anger, fear, and confusion visible in the shifting patterns. "Captain Voss," Xylara said, her voice still carrying that eerie harmonic quality despite her evident distress. "I see now why you were so confident. A hidden fleet, most unexpected. The Amaranthan Collective isn't the only species capable of long-term planning." "Overseer," Voss replied. "Your vessels are surrounded and outgunned. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Xylara's skin settled into a deep blue hue. You presume much, Captain. The collective has existed for 50 millennia. We have faced setbacks before. This isn't a setback, Voss countered. This is defeat. Look at your tactical display. 93 of your ships are already disabled. The rest are surrounded. There is no escape. For a long moment, Silura was silent, her alien features unreadable. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed, a sound like crystal bells chiming. Perhaps I underestimated your species' capacity for deception, she conceded. But you make a critical error if you believe this engagement represents the full might of the collective. Our home territories span 17 star systems, Captain. This fleet is merely an expeditionary force. An expeditionary force that managed to devastate our colonies and attack Earth itself, Voss noted. Impressive. But now we know your weaknesses. Your quantum technology is vulnerable to disruption. Your phase shields can't stop properly calibrated weapons. Should the collective send another fleet, we'll be ready. You speak as though you've won a decisive victory, Silura observed. Haven't we? Voss gestured to the tactical display. Your fleet is neutralized. Your strategy has failed, and now humanity knows exactly what we're facing. The Overseer's expression shifted subtly. Interesting. Most species beg for mercy when defeated. You speak of strategic advantages and future conflicts. Humanity doesn't surrender, Overseer. We adapt. We evolve. We overcome. Silura studied her for a long moment. Perhaps that is why you were selected. The cryptic statement caught Voss off guard. Selected? For what? The trial of ascension. Silura replied, as if stating something obvious. Why else would the collective direct such resources toward evaluating a single species? Before Voss could question her further, alarms blared across the Dauntless. Captain, Lieutenant Quan called out. Energy spike from the collective flagship. They're activating some kind of quantum resonance field. All ships, pull back. Voss ordered immediately. Target their power core. But it was too late. A sphere of shimmering energy expanded from the radiant ascendancy, engulfing the surrounding space. Where it touched Umbra vessels, their systems flickered momentarily, but they remained operational. The collective ships within the field, however, began to glow with increasing intensity. What are they doing? Admiral Chen demanded. Dr. Wei's eyes widened as he analyzed the readings. It's a mass quantum entanglement event. They're linking all their ships together, creating a single unified system. To what purpose? Voss asked. The answer came moments later as the entangled collective vessels seemed to dissolve, their physical forms breaking down into streams of energy that flowed toward the flagship. The radiant ascendancy grew brighter with each absorbed vessel, until it blazed like a newborn star. They're sacrificing their fleet to power the flagship, Dr. Wei realized, converting matter directly to energy in a controlled quantum reaction. On the view screen, Overseer Silura smiled. The Amaranthine Collective congratulates humanity on passing the initial phase of the trial. Your resourcefulness exceeds expectations. This was a test. Voss asked incredulously. Earth is gone. Billions dead. For a test. Evolution requires pressure, Silura replied simply. Species that cannot adapt to existential threats have no place among the galactic community. Humanity has demonstrated remarkable potential. You hid an entire fleet from our most sophisticated detection methods. You reverse-engineered our technology in mere years, when most species require centuries. You maintained hope in the face of certain defeat. The transformed flagship pulsed with energy, creating ripples in the fabric of space-time. The second phase begins now, Silura continued. We will return in 5 of your years. Prepare yourselves. Before Voss could respond, the radiant ascendancy vanished in a flash of blinding light, leaving behind only a rapidly dissipating quantum signature. For several moments, the command center was silent, everyone struggling to process what had just occurred. Did they just leave? Rodriguez asked finally. Tactical, scan the system, Voss ordered. Any sign of collective vessels? None, "Captain," Quan replied. "They're gone. All of them." Admiral Chen exchanged a bewildered look with Voss. A test. All of this was some kind of twisted evaluation. "It appears so," Voss said slowly, her mind racing to understand the implications. "And apparently, we passed. At what cost?" Dr. Wei asked bitterly. "Earth devastated. Our colonies destroyed. Billions dead. Also, some ancient alien collective could judge whether we deserve to exist." "Not whether we deserve to exist," Admiral Rice interjected, her face grim on the view screen. "Whether we're worth assimilating." The overseer mentioned 17 star systems under collective control. 17 species they've incorporated. The protectorate races, Colonel Diallo realized. They weren't conquered. They were absorbed after passing similar tests. "And now we have 5 years to prepare for the second phase," Voss concluded. "Whatever that means." "It means we build," Admiral Chen said firmly. "We rebuild our colonies. We strengthen the Umbra fleet. We develop every technological advantage we can derive from the disabled collective vessels we've captured. And we prepare for war," Voss added. "Whatever the collective's ultimate purpose, they've shown what they're willing to do in pursuit of it. We can't allow them to dictate humanity's future." In the days that followed, as the full Umbra fleet assembled around Bastion Station, the scope of humanity's hidden resources became clear. Besides the 200 warships, Admiral Rice revealed the existence of 3 fully operational shipyards concealed in nebula beyond the edge of charted space, along with research facilities, mining operations, and agricultural habitats. Fleet Admiral Tenzin always believed the collective would find us eventually, Rice explained during the first Joint Command meeting. He diverted resources years before they actually arrived, creating a shadow infrastructure that could survive even if Earth fell. "Why wasn't Earth's leadership informed?" demanded Dr. Wei. "Compartmentalization," Voss answered before Rice could. "The more people who knew, the greater the risk of exposure. The collective's intelligence-gathering capabilities are unprecedented." "And now," Colonel Diallo asked, "do we attempt to retake our lost colonies?" Admiral Chen shook her head. "Not yet. First, we consolidate our position, integrate the Umbra resources with our remaining conventional forces, and analyze every scrap of collective technology we've captured. And we prepare for their return," Voss added. 5 years isn't much time. The meeting continued long into the night, as humanity's remaining leaders grappled with their new reality. Not extinction, as they had feared, but something perhaps more challenging, a forced evolution under the scrutiny of an incomprehensibly ancient and powerful civilization. 6 months later, Captain Voss stood once again at the observation deck of Bastion Station, now the bustling center of humanity's reconstruction efforts. The station had been expanded, incorporating elements of collective technology with human engineering to create something entirely new, just as humanity itself was being forced to adapt and evolve. Rodriguez joined her, now wearing the insignia of a full commander. "The first colonization fleet is ready for departure, Captain. New Eden awaits its first inhabitants." Voss nodded. New Eden, the first planet to be reclaimed and rebuilt after the collective's withdrawal. A symbol of humanity's resilience. "The Overseer said we were selected for the trial of ascension," Voss mused, watching as shuttles ferried personnel and supplies between the station and the assembled fleet. "But I don't think she understood what that really means for us." "Sir, humanity doesn't ascend because some alien collective judges us worthy," Voss explained. "We rise because that's what we do. We fall, we adapt, we overcome. Always have." "And the collective, when they return?" Voss turned from the viewport, her expression resolute. "Then we show them exactly what humanity becomes when pushed to the edge of extinction. We show them that we won't be incorporated or assimilated or whatever euphemism they use for conquest." In the distance, the first ships of the colonization fleet began to move away from the station, their engines glowing against the blackness of space. Humanity was expanding once more, reaching out to reclaim what had been lost, and beyond. 5 years, Voss said softly. 5 years to rebuild, rearm, and reinvent ourselves. When the Amaranthine Collective returns, they'll find something they've never encountered before in 50,000 years of existence. What's that, Captain? Voss smiled grimly. A species that doesn't just pass their test, but rejects the very premise that they have the right to test us at all. The Collective thinks this is about ascension under their terms. We're going to show them what real evolution looks like. As if to punctuate her words, the colonization fleet jumped to light speed, momentarily turning the viewport into a canvas of streaking stars. Humanity racing toward its future, defiant and unbroken. In the command center of the Radiant Ascendancy, now restored to its normal configuration, and traveling through the void between galaxies, Overseer Xilura replayed the recordings of humanity's defense and the emergence of their hidden fleet. Fascinating species, she commented to Sub-Commander Vex. Their capacity for strategic deception exceeds any we've encountered. A potential threat, Vex noted cautiously. All potential is a threat until properly channeled, Xilura replied. That is the purpose of the trial. To identify those species with the capacity to join the Collective as equals, rather than subordinates. And if they refuse to join, their captain seemed resistant to the concept. Xilura's skin rippled with colors of amusement. They all resist, at first. The Arcturians fought for 3 generations before accepting the inevitable. The Centauri nearly destroyed their own homeworld rather than submit. And yet both are now loyal components of the Collective, Vex acknowledged. As humanity will be, Xilura assured him. Though I suspect their integration will require special measures. The massive ship continued its journey toward the Collective's core systems, carrying news of yet another species that had demonstrated the potential for ascension, and the promise of conflict to come.